Talk about all right intro.
Why do we need to talk about it? We are forming our LARPing commune. I agreed to LARP, and then I was told I didn't have to fight anybody, which so I don't have to fight anybody. We can just pretend to be. We can live act role playing, but like, at what point is it role playing? What point is it not just life?
So,
where is the line?
That is a heady question, and the answer is there might not be one, technically. So, like, for example, anyone who has I suppose I should do an introduction. Hello, my name is Wren. My pronouns are... Fair enough.
No, stop! No, Alex, please. Hi, welcome to Judges and Degrees. My name's Adrian.
My name's Alex.
And today
we're going to talk to Wren. Let's
Wren, introduce yourself. We're going back to the old intro. This is just how it's going today. Because we already got so many questions.
My name is Wren. I'm renowned, not only in the things that I do, but also on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and I think on Twitter it's like Renowned Gaming or whatever, and also on Start Playing. I am a TTRPG and LARP game designer, runner, player, etc. And I'm very excited to be here.
We just got into it, and then I just had to hit the record, and then I was also getting berated, and then also we didn't have a proper intro, but it's okay because, you know, we're actually, like, getting into the nitty-gritty immediately.
Okay,
we're talking about LARP.
You are acting as if you did not say those words that would have gotten me inspired to then start talking about my one dream. You were like, oh, I didn't know that was going to happen. Like, oh,
it was an outline.
You said the word homestead, as if that wasn't going to be the trigger for me to ignore whatever you wanted to talk about and just start talking about homesteading. And now we're talking about what is the line between LARPing and real life in our pretend homestead. Wren said they were there for a bit. Here we fucking are for this goddamn bit.
So for those of you who don't know, LARP is live action roleplay, and live action roleplay can be a lot of different things. I'm going to be bringing up a couple of different concepts that are important for context. So the number one thing we're going to be talking about is the difference between what is called a boffer LARP and a parlor LARP, generally speaking. A boffer LARP is a LARP where you have sticks and you beat a nerd with a stick, and that's combat. That's what a boffer LARP is. You take stick, you apply it to other nerd liberally while they attempt to apply stick to you, and that's a boffer LARP. That's it. A parlor LARP is anything else. So interactions in those LARPs can be handled a lot of different ways. Some use rock, paper, scissors. Some use cards that you would play with numbers on them. Some use interesting other mechanics. So like a personal favorite of mine that actually ran for years and years and years, Archangel Frame, actually used playing cards that were adjudicated by other players and given to certain players to then use in combat scenarios. That game was like Attack on Titan meets Neo Genesis Evangelion. It was very, very cool. So what does this have to do with everything else and about real life and where the line is? Have either of you ever worked in customer service?
No, never.
Yes.
Of course not. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay. So do you have a customer service phone voice that's different than your normal phone voice?
Do we just put it on right now? Like, hi, welcome to PF Chang's. My name's Adrian. How can I help you? Would you like the chicken salad? I don't know. Is
that you? Is that you, or is that you affecting a persona?
No, is everything LARPing?
It's
everything
a persona
LARP now?
It's, and also even after like the intro, you still have to have that like persona on, even though you're like trying to be more personable. You are. I mean, I tried to be, but then it's like you got to keep up that facade. You can't be like, hey, let's go play D&D after. You know, like we gotta go. We go like, yeah.
You're affecting a persona, and usually afterwards you have to go home and decompress, right? because that persona and the stress while you're in that persona bleeds into who you are. And so you have to emotionally regulate and separate the two. Right?
Yeah.
Am I right?
Alex, are you okay? Alex?
So the answer is anything can be a LARP, but not everything is a LARP.
No.
Look, you started with the heady questions. This is not my fault.
Don't you put this back on me, but you're fucking right. So we are always parlor LARPing. Always parlopping. Always.
Always. So yeah, that's the thing, is that basically in the same way that just about anything can become a TTRPG, anything can be a LARP. So I'll give you an example of ways where we've used that in design, right? And actually kind of like link the two. So an excellent person and friend of mine, Jacqueline Brake, aka Ruffle Jax, aka Jax, who is an award-winning game writer, content creator, is actually written for, there was the rewrite of Vampires the Masquerade, where there was the safety rules that made all of the white supremacists super angry. Jax wrote that.
That's good. I like it when those guys get angry. Because something good happened, usually.
Jax and I are really into the Silt Verses, which is a podcast that I absolutely love. It's very creepy. It very much does this, like, what if anything could be a god, and then what if gods were capitalism kind of thing. And it is dark, and it is powerful. I adore it. And I was talking with Jax, and Jax was going to run this game at a con, and was like, I'm going to have to table it because, COVID rates are high. And I'm like, but what if we did this game remote? What if we turn this game into a Discord online game? And so actually that later that year, we got the approval of the folks over at Silt Versus. Jax got a bunch of some of the different actual voice cast from that podcast to come and join us as NPCs. And we ran a full online LARP. And the way that people interacted it was they would reach out to what was, a person, but they were like the computer system, and they would try to put in what they needed done and would get output for their actions. And so that is taking the work from home model that we all use. Well, not we all, but a lot of people have shifted to, and moving it into a LARP play space. And that's how, so that online experience of working online can be a LARP, but working online is not always a LARP.
I feel like that's such a ambitious thing, but I mean, if you have someone that's done game design, that it's not it's business as usual. How to convert that?
It's not my first time. I actually, so when COVID started, I started for smaller LARPs and smaller game runners that I just knew personally. I just started building Discord online play spaces for their games for free, because it was really important that people could have that outlet during such a terrible time. And so I was just, for one LARP, I was actually Archangel Frame. They were planning on running an event, and then COVID got really bad. And so 2 weeks before the event, they were like, we have to cancel. We can't do this. And so in 2 weeks, I completely converted their entire game and all of their mechanics completely online. And that was the first big project that I did. And then it snowballed from there. So at this point, I've done it 20 or 30 times and be like, okay, what are your mechanics? Okay, here's how we could do it. How does that sound? And just write all the documentation, educate people, do, I did a session 0-esque thing for people who are not used to how that play works. So we could walk through, here's how the mechanics work. Here's how the safety mechanics work. Here's everything you could need to know, so that they could hop right in and be confident and be successful. It's adjudicating to anyone, building a TTRPG, right? Building a game from scratch or designing a setting from scratch. To anyone who has never done it before, amazing. just out of this world, super powerful. But to people who build games regularly, even when you're looking at someone else's work, you can see the threads. You can see how it all originates and where everything goes to, and you can see where things reference other things that you've seen before and where they're different. In LARP design, in any sort of game design, it's the same way. It looks like magic until you see enough of it to know it's not.
I need to see more
can you
then.
explain?
Go ahead.
Can you explain, like, give us an example of, like, the game mechanics? Because I feel like my brain is at that point where I'm like, okay, that makes sense, but, like, what game mechanics would be an example of what you're talking about?
Excellent. So, let me give you a few. So in Archangel Frame, the way that combat worked was basically it is get in the fucking robot, Shinji the game. So you have the administrators who are your Gendos and that staff, and their job is to stress out the pilots. And that stress was actually in game. It was cards in a deck of cards. So at the beginning of game, control or the game runners would give each administrator 3 or 4 cards. And then the way that the abilities worked in that game, you had to act out scenes with those players using obviously all the safety rules and all of those things to provide those to the pilots. When the pilots get in the robot, they're issued a challenge. So let's say, the engine roars at you and takes a swing. Challenge pair. The 2 pilots look at all the cards that they have and see if they can make a pair. And if they can't, they fail the challenge and something bad happens. And so the way that we had to do that was, because obviously there is, a voice component because the pilots are in the machine together, right? And so there was a channel where the pilots could be together. And then the people who are the control admins could be in there as well. So we use a Discord chat. In order for control to give those illustrative things, they use a text chat. And then the pilots would vocalize how they would do that. Now that's an easy mechanic to translate. So let's mix it up a little bit. So at the same time, there is another group of people that are involved in these interactions, and they are called mayflies. This is your Attack on Titan aspect. These are people not in giant robots trying to fight giant robots. They're called mayflies because they are expected to die quickly and in mass quantities. So they have this ability where they can throw in on a challenge on the side of the players, and they have to make a call. And so that call could be a number, it could be a suit, it could be a color. And how specific it is, the better it is. And so when Control puts a challenge forward, every mayfly had their own individual react icon. That was theirs. And it was part of their name, and Control had a list of who those people were. And so if the mayflies wanted to throw in on that, they could react. And then Control would know that they have to call on those people to get their guesses and be able to react in that way. So that is one example. And that's an example of these are existing mechanics that we then had to, in 2 weeks, find a comparison for. So how that differs, let me see. I keep all of my mechanics docs because I love them. So for Project Sparrow, my job was to completely design how the player mechanics worked in game from start to finish. So what I did was we built a template. And so in this game, every machine, all those things are actually people who have been converted by gods into saints. They are living, breathing machines that have been changed physically and psychologically by a god and is now designed for this one purpose. And so these were the support saints. And so they had every group, because there were like 4 or 5 different groups of players, had a support saint or 2 that they worked with directly. And so if they had a request for the support saints, they would basically fill out this template and post it. And after a certain amount of time, the support saints would return with a series of information about how this worked, how it interacted, or what information that they are looking for. Depending on the size and scale, it might take a little bit longer, as adjudicated by those administrators. And what this is doing mechanically is, it is making the players consider very carefully what they want to do and how to do it, what resources they want to use, because they have to write them in and put all that stuff in. And most importantly, they need to consider how those things will affect the thing they're trying to do. And so when they put it all out there and they get feedback, what that does is it takes all of these complicated things that the players have put together and created what's called a black box. So in LARP, what a black box scene is it is a scene between a small group of people together where the DM, it's like a DM player one-on-one. But this is creating a series of black boxes for each group, which allows us to act very specifically to what they want by getting specifically all the information we need so that we as game runners can react quickly to that request. And so it's taking all of these things into account. And from a player perspective, it seems like they're getting to do a lot of really cool big things out of the things they want to do, which is the feeling we want them to have. But it's also making it so that it's manageable for the people who are doing it. Additionally, the way that we documented it is there was actually almost like a ticketing system. So there was a channel for the support saints where you would put in the titles of the requests. And as the support saints would finish them, you'd remove them. But that also does another interesting thing, because based on the titles, people in other projects can see what the titles are of what other people are doing. And so it creates this weird interplay between them that was really delicious.
That's cool. That's
okay.
I'm trying to process it. How are you doing, Alex? Are you?
I got a page of notes. Let me see if what I'm internalizing is making sense, because it sounds like both Archangel and support saints have a very similarly written structure. So I think I'm starting to see like the common thread, right? So you have, I assume, different factions of people. So there's different teams, like, so like, let's just use teams. So like team red, team blue, right? So, but within those teams, the structure is like some sort of admin and then some sort of player, right? So like admin is giving a problem. The players are trying to find a solution, but is there also interplay with, like, I guess for support saints, there's also interplay with like red team and blue team. Like, oh, I want to make sure we're winning or beating them or thinking about things because the other team is doing, like, is that simultaneous? Like, am I adding on that extra layer?
So that extra layer isn't wrong, because some groups are like out to do better than the others, while others are uninterested. But if like someone is going to do something big and horrible, you kind of want to keep tabs on what other people are doing. And okay. I think the one thing in the parallel I want to clarify, because I think it'll help, is the admins are players. Control is the support saints, because the support saints are GMs that are going through these requests and producing feedback, when control are the ones who are issuing challenges and providing feedback. The players, it's all the same like it is with a TTRPG. Player provides information. Player provides content, something to be reacted to. The GM reacts to it, or vice versa, depending on the situation. There's always that interplay between the players and each other, the players and the rule set, and then the players and the GM. And all three of them in LARP and tabletop games are happening in concert.
Okay. So for Archangel, there's the control, admin, and pilot are like, this is not helping for our audio listeners because I'm holding my hands up in the hierarchy. So the top of the hierarchy is admin, and then the pilot, control, I'm sorry. There are my notes, they're there. Control, and then admin and pilot are both player characters, but they're interplaying with each other.
Yes, and I mentioned Mayflies are another class of player that are interplaying with each other.
Okay. Okay, so the words we're using are just like, we're just basically changing players and like DMs
giving
or
those
GMs.
Players even like their own classes kind of thing, right?
Yeah, that's the thing behind LARP and tabletop and almost anything. So what I do for a living outside of this is I build systems so that they run successfully, not just like computer systems, but like process, procedure, and the documentation behind them. It's what I've basically built the cornerstone of my work relationships and things on. And so all of this is the same shit. All it is the same goddamn thing. TTRPG, LARP, and what I do for work, it's all the same muscle. I just enjoy the other two more than the one.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I mean, because there's that extra level of creativity that you add on to the LARP side, right? Okay, cool. We can give a cool name that's going to get somebody jazzed up, and then you sit back and you watch somebody enjoy it. Like, I don't see how in creating systems, unless it is me, you'd be like, I'm getting enjoyment because the system is working effectively in this corporation, because we can all agree that corporations are the devil. We can all agree we all lose in our capitalistic society.
I played that game and I did lose, kind of.
Constantly losing.
So where you get enjoyment out of things is different. So in LARP, it's just, in tabletop, it's just bringing pure enjoyment. In capitalism, it's producing the least harm and helping other people to be successful in a system that's rigged against all of us. So like, if I work in support, and so like my job is to build every process and procedure and KPI and metric to make it so that my team can 100% of the time be 100% successful at a reasonable amount of work. And my job is to try to fight anyone who stops me from doing that thing. Now, the benefit of doing it in LARP and TTRPG is I don't have to do that last part. Everyone can just have a good time.
Capitalism is the devil.
It is. It's what 80% of the TTRPG games I play. And the one that, for those of you who don't know, the reason I'm here is because Adrian was in a one-shot that I ran. That was a cyberpunk one-shot where they did irreparable harm to a megacorp. And it was awesome.
I was like the fall character. I was like the quirky fall character. I played him like that.
You were not like, so when I see the story of your character, I see a very different story than what I think you see. And it's also why Brittany cried during that one shot at the end. I don't know if you caught that, but
what?
I
didn't think you caught that. So
I was in my head.
Okay, hold on. Before we get, I don't want Wren. I want your side of it. Adrian, what did you think? How did you think you were playing your character?
Well, it was a nervous individual who just was working with these. We just kind of fell into this by accident, and I was there. I kind of pulled off a killing move, and near the end, I was the one that died. And well, I didn't have to die. Wren gave me a choice, and I said, kill me. And so it was good, and I had like a small moment at the end, and I was too in my head. I wasn't seeing anybody else. I just said some stuff, and then I died, and then we had a very cool ending. That's what I remember. I don't remember anything else.
So I think the story of Barney in this context is a person who was thrust into circumstances, like many of us, right? That's thrust into circumstances we can't control. You didn't mean to be involved in something terrible the Cyber Corp is doing, but you found out that that's what you were doing. And then whether or not you didn't want to have to do any of these things, but you and your team helped to destroy all of the stuff that they were using that you were researching. And then you had to live underground. So Barney, this regular dude that just wanted to do regular dude things, is now running away from a corporation that desperately wants you dead. You're literally living in a hole in the floor underneath a business to try and hide from them. And then you get a shot. You get a chance to try to take a big shot against those other people. And you're in this situation that is so much bigger than you. And instead of running away, you try to do your best. And in trying to do your best, actually helped to make sure that the whole thing didn't get blown by creating a massive, if not hilariously lube-related, go watch the VOD, distraction. And then at the very end, like, you did all of these things. You did everything that you could. And yes, you died. But the thing about Cyberpunk is that all of the people in Cyberpunk are people who are trapped in impossible circumstances that they cannot hope to rise above or affect in a real meaningful way. And the setting that we are playing in is a setting that I have been working on for a long time, which is called Better Business, which the setting where the game takes place is post-corporate cyberpunk. And this was actually taking place in the past from where that setting is. So it's in the same timeline. And so what Barney did was the first big step to people realizing that all they have to do sometimes is stand up in these impossible circumstances and do the best they can. And that can be enough.
That's crazy that I don't see that until you like point it out like that.
But like everyone, like people were crying because they were seeing this. Like this is what you brought to this game. This is what you did. I did not do this. You did this. This is the story that you told through the way you played this game. And that's one of my favorite things about TTRPG games. Like, it's that the stories that we tell together are irrevocably changed by what one another do. And it makes things infinitely cooler. And even things that you aren't thinking of can be infinitely more powerful and impactful to other players in a positive way just by you being there and you having a good time. I think that's really cool. And I think that's one of the reasons I like doing what I do. I think way too much about stuff.
I mean, it's perfectly fine.
This is not the podcast that is going to support you talking negatively about yourself. This is not the group. This is not the time, because I think that care and intention is very evident in the way that you speak about what you do, the way that you speak about even like just it permeates through you, right? So like that's going to make sense that like you do very much care deeply. And that's fine. Nobody here is going to tell you you can't. Like, listen, I cry like every other week on this podcast, on this feed. You can very clearly listen to me sobbing or crying or just like having an emotional reaction, because what is the purpose of life if not to have like emotions?
Yeah, and to share them, and to
And
be
share them.
vulnerable with one another in the ways that we can and can afford to.
Yeah. Like, Adrian absolutely never sees his brilliance, ever. Like, that is a consistent flaw in his character. We need to put more stat points in there, but I think that makes sense as Kate. Adrian as a person, for him, one, to have that, like, monumental moment in role-playing, but also this very instance of, like, I didn't see it happening. I didn't know what was going on. And, like, everyone else is, like, crying and weeping. Yeah. Oh, my God. Oh,
Was it a dog?
You're welcome for that jump scare, everyone.
I wish it was something that was breathing and not something that sits next to me every time we record, and I just happen to stretch and hit my my ironing board. I'm not gonna show you the other side of it because it has some
things on it.
No, I just had it got wet and then absorbed something and then I couldn't wash it off. So, it's not gross, but I literally just touched it and it felt like a dog. But I have no dogs that are this height. I have 0 dogs that are up this high. Ever.
So a wolf just appeared in your room and tried to kill you. I see. Mm-hmm. I too would be afraid of that, honestly. For real.
Dear audio listener, absolutely is what happened. My friends on YouTube, shut your fucking mouth.
All right, I've come back. I was processing the whole speech. I really appreciate that, Wren. It's something that I don't see that often in my own gameplay. And so you bringing that up and saying that I brought that story really means a lot. And I had to like sit back and shut the fuck up for like a minute before I turned into Alex. Just kidding. Dude, I do have tears in my eyes. I will say that. I'm just not actively crying. I've been taking my meds. Otherwise, it'd be game over. I'd be crying like a baby. But yeah. That means a lot.
Well, I'm glad. It should, goddammit. And if you want somebody, we've met now.
Yeah.
If you're looking for somebody who's not going to absolutely pump you up at every fucking opportunity, you need a different friend that's not. I love talking about the cool things people I know do all the time. It's one of my favorite things.
A link to the fucking one shot, I think it's up on their Twitch. I'll have to go check. Will be up. I'm not sure if they archive everything or what they do, but I'll take a look. We'll find it. I'll find it. So you have a broader context, and then you can see Wren and I playing just the funnest game of Cyberpunk I've ever played, which is, super awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think that's the third time I've run anything Cyberpunk. So I was hoping. I had a good feeling about it. But I'm glad that you had such a good time.
I threw my hat into on a whim. Okay, it was like, oh, Cyberpunk, I'm interested, and I just I didn't know what to expect. So and just having just such great experience after expecting pretty much neutral, it's a good time. It's a great feeling.
That's my only goal. Right. I think during my session 0 is one of the first things I try to tell everyone, especially for the games. So I run games right now for Dinner and a Game. I am their guest DM, so I'll come on and do one-shots. I've done 3 one-shots so far, 2 Cyborg one-shots, and 1 Monster of the Week. I have a couple planned coming up in April, and then we'll see what happens in May. But as long as they keep inviting me back, my nerd ass is going to keep coming back. But during my session zeros, I always try to say the same thing, especially if we're going to be live. Like, hey, like, I know if you folks haven't done this on stream or whatever, it can be very nerve-wracking. This can be a very intense thing. You don't have to look at chat. You don't have to do a goddamn thing except one thing, which is try to have as much fun as possible. That's it. That's your only job. I will bring everything else. You just try to have a good time. And so hearing that is how that went, that's my only goal. That is my one job. Yeah, there's people in chat. Yeah, there's people watching elsewhere. But if you all aren't having a good time, that is my only focus. That is the only thing I care about when I'm at the head of that table.
Yeah. And you also plays games on Start Playing as well?
So I'm for hire on Start Playing.
Okay.
I was going to start running one-shots there, and then this whole dinner and a game thing happened, which got very intense and very good. So I'm definitely for hire there for basically like, what do you want to play? I'll put something together and you'll play and it'll be a great time. Like I run everything from raccoons doing street racing to, to like Monster of the Week. Oh, have you not heard of Crash Pandas, the TTRPG game where you're a group of raccoons that have gotten involved in the high risk world of street racing? Because it's a free TTRPG. It is a single page, and I run a damn good game of it. It's a lot of fun.
I've heard of it. I've heard of it like through TikTok, but I don't know, Alex. Are you looking it up right now? Is that what I'm seeing? The flashes of light on your face.
I actually have a one-shot plan that I'm eventually going to run on Dinner and a Game.
Mm-hmm.
I have a very specific one-shot I want to run. I've run it for a group of friends, and they had a blast. So I'm just going to do it again, only on stream this time.
Nice. I was just the people that you played with most of those people minus the two Texans, right? Me and Black Cat. I forget their name.
So I know most of the people that I bring to these tables I've met through LARP.
Okay.
So I've LARPed with them to a degree. Of the people that you played with last game, I had played with Black Cat and Brittany before in tabletop games. And I've only run for... I don't think I had run for Brittany before. So I'd only run for Black Cat before that.
Okay.
But KJ and Nate are longtime friends of mine who, like, they saw me post on Facebook, like, hey, y'all want in? They threw in, they got in. That's how it goes.
All right. But I was just so, like, it was a good group, and I, when you have those, like, online experiences, sometimes it can be a mixed bag. You can have great DMs, you can have horrible DMs. I've had my fair share. And it's so nice when a plan comes together. So it was a very enjoyable time, and just the people around us made it also, like, happen so well.
For sure. I think as a game runner, it's important to... There's a lot of responsibility that I think as a DM I try to take. I'm not going to try to be prescriptive on what other people should do, because who the fuck am I? I'm not your dad. I can't tell you what to do at home. But when I try to run a game, like, I try to make sure that I'm bringing people to the table and I'm pulling people in that are going to mesh well. They're going to try to have a good time. And then I try to do what I do with everything else and try to, in a session zero, set everyone up for success. Tell people about the game, tell people about the system, figure out what cool things people want to do, and then help them do that together. I know for this last game, something I did that I did not do for my other cyborg thing was I stole a note from Monsters of the Week, and I made it that everyone answered questions about their relationship with other players, so that even in, like, we didn't even have time to do that in our first session zero. We did that in, like, the 15 minutes before that stream, and it still made a world of difference for the game.
Yeah, no, I had used that system because, like, Powered by the Apocalypse also does masks. I did that for Mask, and it felt like that's how you get, like, that like, stopping the existing kind of cohesion of a group to spread out to new players, to have those ties with the new person or the person nobody knows, and kind of, I don't want to say forcing, but creating a little bit more of a natural glue with the storytelling elements.
Exactly. You're creating more opportunities for people to be successful. You're giving them space to be able to latch onto things and then succeed. And that's the number one thing that you can do for anyone you're trying to help with anything, right? You're giving people more things to latch onto, because especially if you have a table of people who've played tabletop games or are really interested in being involved, if you give them those things, they will latch onto them.
I'm freaking pumped. I don't know, cause now I'm like, just you explaining like about game design and the things like I try to put into play and like I've dabbled. I've never done too much into it, but I've dabbled, and it's like, to me it was hard, and it's like I'm doing something wrong and I give up. So hearing this kind of like the power behind your words, the how you say it, the so much conviction, and just positive fucking energy makes me pumped to keep doing these things. I mean, I was already going to do it, but not with the jazz I'm filled with now.
Well, and you should do it, especially if it's something you want to do. Like, if you turn the eye towards trying to figure out what stuff other people are going to have fun with, as a GM, like, I obviously want to get points across. I want to get a story across. I want to get people to a place, especially in a one shot, because we have 4 hours. I have to build tension, build suspense, make that shit happen, and bring it to a close in 4 fucking hours. So spoiler alert, the first one shot I've ever run that was built exactly like that, I ran for my first one shot at dinner in a game. I had never really run a proper one shot before. Madness Diamond, shout out to Diamond, who does the scheduling over there, posted on Twitter, "Oh, hey, who wants to help join us and do this thing?" And I threw my hat in the ring. And Madness, Diamond reached out to me, and I said, "Hey, if you want me to run a game for you people internally so that you can check the vibes, what do you want to do? How do you want to do this?" She was like, "Yeah, we'll just put you on. You're good." I'm like, what? And then I put out like a couple of different game systems, and I picked like 3 game systems I knew and 1 I did not know, and put it out there to the people what they wanted to play. And they picked the one I didn't know and have never run before, which was Monster of the Week. So I am now, for the first time, running a TTRPG one shot live on a live stream in a system I don't know. Fuck yeah, let's go. Is basically how, and it went really, really well. I ran a one shot that's called, which one was it? Drown Town, Drown Gods, which takes place in a town close to my hometown called Neversink, New York. Neversink is ironically named because they actually relocated that town out of the valley it was in to the hills nearby and flooded it to create the Neversink Reservoir, which is a body of water in the New York City watershed that feeds water into New York City. The 2 towns that were 2 of the towns that make the Neversink Reservoir are legitimately called Neversink and Bittersweet. I'm not fucking kidding you. That is real life. Look it up. That is real fucking life. And so it takes place in that town, and it has to do with the town's history and old gods and them getting their revenge for promises not kept. It's an idea that I had floating around in my head for months that I just hadn't done anything with. And it worked out. And then they invited me back to do 2 more. And they were like, "You want to run two things? Sure. How about Cyberpunk?" And I'm like, I barely run anything Cyberpunk. Sure, let's go. I have Cyborg, which I've never run before. I'll just run it out of that system too. And it's like, if you have passion for a thing I would say you got to go and try it. You got to go and do it. Why not? What's the worst that could happen? It doesn't go well, and you decide you don't want to do it again. Or it doesn't go well, you realize you still like it and you want to do it again, and you keep doing it. Like, anything that is worth doing wrong a bunch of times until you get good at the thing. That's it. And there's people around to help. Like, there's whole communities online. I've been talking with this one DM who posted on Threads a while ago, who was like, I'm having a lot of problems with my group. I'm having a lot of issues. I don't know what to do. I'm a new DM. It's not going well. And I reached out. I was like, hey, like, if you want to talk about it, we can help figure out what you can do. And like, after a couple of conversations now, like, I just gave my 2 cents, like, hey, you do what you want. This is what I'm seeing. These are some things to consider. Do what you think is best. And I don't know what she took back to her table or what advice she took to do it, but apparently they're having a wonderful time. And frankly, I'm not going to ask her if she took my opinion. I don't care as long as they're having a good time. But like, there are people out there who will help. Shit, you know me now. So tough luck. If you need help, I'm out here. Like, there's whole communities of people, and you have DM syndrome. And the only way I beat DM syndrome was having to do this one shot through dinner in a game, because the fact that they invited me back for their people who are paying, because like they have subscribers, there are people paying to watch that channel. The fact that they invited me back means I can't be bad at this. It's the only reason I stopped having the problem you're having. Up until that happened, I thought I was trash as a DM. I thought I was absolute bullshit garbage, and nobody told me could convince me otherwise. And I think a lot of DMs, and a lot of players, but I think DMs think of it more, because as a player, unless you are the type of player that is concerned about everyone else's play and everyone else having a good time, you're trying to do the things your character wants to do. As a DM, you were trying to make sure that everything runs well and everyone's having a good time. And so as the DM, you look at your adventure and you look at all the things you had planned and you look at all the things that went wrong, and that is what sticks in your head. It is I was in my head thinking about the decision I made, while the impact you had was making other players cry because they thought it was so cool. It's the same mechanic. It's that same thing. And you're not the only one. Yeah, I think there are tons of people. There are probably tons of people listening to this right now who watch like Dimension 20 and see Brendan Lee Mulligan and their other cast of amazing game runners, and be like, fuck, I can't do that. I too feel that way. To be honest, but like, we can't be Brendan Lee Mulligan because we are not Brendan Lee Mulligan. We can't be these other GMs. You can bring the things that makes you passionate about storytelling and passionate about games and bring that to the table, because that's something that is just you, and that will make you shine, because that's who you are, and that is what you can be passionate about.
Fuck yeah.
I would like to throw out that we all love Brendan Lee Mulligan because of that. Like, that is something that we all admire, that he is himself with his voices and his sound effects and his passion. Like, that is what we love about him. And that doesn't, because we love him, that does not mean like you as a DM are not also that. He just has a lot of other people also feeling the same way, and like had the fortune and the opportunity to follow that into a career path where this is not everybody's career path. But that doesn't diminish that. That doesn't take that away. That doesn't stop that from also being good for the rest of us who are not Brendan Lee Mulligan.
Well, and even if you look at the GM from there, like what Abria brings to the table, Brennan does not bring to the table. And that is what makes those different experiences so fucking cool. Because like right now I am neck deep in oh goodness, the Stoat season. And oh my god, one, super dope, no spoilers, go watch that shit. But Abria just brings so much cool shit to the table, and like the effects that Abria brings to that season that no one else has done in Dimension 20 is that it's uniquely I believe her pronouns are she, her, I believe.
Beep boop boop boop. Go find the socials now.
They bring a whole bunch of other things to the table and effects to the table and ideas to the table that no one else does. And that's what makes their shit so fucking good. And I fear that people are worried about trying to be like the apex GM and trying to be the best GM that there is at this art that we are all trying to do together. But the thing about art is that art is different and art is subjective. And the best art that can be created is when you bring yourself into it.
But what if I want to be the very best
I know that no one ever was.
that no one ever was?
Then be the best you, like no one ever was.
Bam. I looked it up. She, her. I found it. It was like a list of every GM player.
Hell yes. Hell yes.
It just took some time. So when are we gonna go find our own homestead, Alex? And what do we need to know about homesteading, Ren?
Wren, how much land do you have, and how many people can we invite onto your lands?
So I don't know how many people, but so we own about 4 acres. Right now we're going to be getting a second dog soon, but we have 1 dog, 2 cats, 2 ferrets, a peacock, 3 guinea fowl, and 17 chickens currently. We're going to be getting some more chickens come the spring. We also have a gigantic fucking garden, and so we're actually link down below to see my link tree question mark.
Yes.
Exclamation point. So information on the homestead. So we post like so during the warm months, the chickens don't go in their coop because they're jerks. And so like there's videos of me going outside and being disappointed in them and having to usher them gently into the coop where it's safe at night. But during the summer, it's all like us in the garden, us with, you know, tomato plants taller than I am, and I'm like 6'2", like all like this year we're doing a completely different layout for the garden. And so like we'll be, as I finish up all the stuff in the wood shop that I'm doing and we get everything laid out, we're obviously going to be putting like posts talking about that. My wife is a goddamn amazing cook. She is the best in every sense. I actually just posted on Twitter today, someone posted this thing where it's like, she's a 10, but she does witchcraft, worships the old gods, hates the government, wants to live on a homestead, collects rocks and books, and is fair. I'm like, that's just my wife. So like a million, right? Like
A million.
Yeah.
But she posts like updates, she posts recipes, she posts all sorts of stuff. And so for Patreons on there, it helps us to feed the animals and those sorts of things. So if that's something you're interested in, do that thing. If you're not, don't. Again, I can't tell you what to do. God. But yeah, so I mean, things to know is that like it's a lot of work. But there's also, I mean, the biggest problem is in that community, there's also a lot of trad wife, white supremacist stuff, which is why my wife is like, because, you know, my wife is a woman of color. I'm Hispanic. So that doesn't really jive with us. So we're like, fine, we will make our own homesteading page with no white supremacy and a goddamn peacock. And so now we're doing our own thing. But like, there's a lot of places out there where you can learn how to raise different types of animals and also like we're very active in our local farmers market out here, and with that local farming community, like, you know, we trade a lot with some friends of ours who run a beef farm. It's a very small thing. They raise Highland cows, which are these big fuzzy cows with the big horns. They're very cute. They're very sweet. You can go and pet them. I have. But like, we trade labor with them. We trade food with them. We trade services with them for food and vice versa. Because, you know, when you're running on a small farm, you know, paying somebody in ground beef is a lot more actually expensive than paying them in cash. And so, you know, we do try to help each other, and people will be willing to teach you and help you. You know, that's the thing. It also really depends on how much you want to do. I think right now the worst thing is that we live in a capitalist hellscape, and land is hard to find. But we moved. We used to live like in the suburbs, and during COVID, my wife is, you know, she's high risk. And so she was like, I need to get the fuck out of the suburbs. One, I always hated living in the suburbs. Now it's untenable. And I was already working remote even before the pandemic. So we sold our house and we moved to the country and we started all this shit. And I didn't know how I'd like it, but it's pretty fucking dope. So worked out.
And we're here now. Yeah. We gotta get to it, Alex. We gotta get.
There's nothing about this entire conversation that I'm not like, okay, cool. We find some land, great. Find the community, great. Like we have the community. I don't think anybody would be opposed to starting anything. I keep joking and saying commune, but like, it would turn in like. The same $100 that like we all keep sending each other, it's the same $100
for our birthdays.
Yeah. Like we just send around the same amount of money, and it like temporarily holds a place in everybody's pocket, and then like for the next birthday it goes to the next one. Like we're doing the same thing. Like it's not. I'm not giving you more than we already like. Okay, so all I'm saying is we have an East Coast friend. We maybe set up in the West Coast, so then it's coast to coast, right?Ve got a whole, and then
we'll send somebody on a wagon to trade, you know?
Yeah, I mean, maybe we like skip the dysentery. Thank you. Dysentery? That feels wrong. Is it wrong? I'm wrong. It's fine.
Are we talking about the same thing? Oh,
you're definitely talking about the same thing.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
What?
Amazon, Oregon Trail, dysentery.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Dysentery, right? Is that what I said? What did you say?
Well, you were close. You said dysentery, or you're like dissent, and you were almost there. I was just pushing you. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just.
This is true. No. Can we also rewind? Wren, what game is that?
Game is what?
What game did you just say?
Oh, Oregon Trail.
Just why are you hating on the Oregon Oregon Trail?
How did you say it, Adrian? What?
Oregon. It's because I'm Texan. My bad.
It's fine. I just haven't heard. Listen, we talk to primarily. We're in Texas. It's primarily certain types of dialect. I forget sometimes that people from different areas speak differently, and it's just nice to be reminded that different people think differently, and I really appreciate it. But I just had a moment. I like it. I like dialect. It's fine. I'll stop.
Oh, you just wanted to hear it again, is what you're saying.
I just wanted to hear it because I forgot that like it just sounded different.
No, that's fair. But honestly, like, homesteading is dope. I think there's something that, like, living in the suburbs and like working in tech, like, I grew up in a small town. I grew up in the middle of nowhere. I was in the FFA for years and years and years, helping in like greenhouses and doing public speaking and doing all that shit. And I really lost touch with like being outside and with the earth and literally touching some fucking grass every once in a while. But doing this, every day I have to go out there and fucking, I had to wrangle chickens in the pouring sleet like 4 hours ago. Just out there calling the chickens, and I'm counting. I'm like, this is not the right number of fucking chickens. And having to like go and chase chickens inside so that I could get inside. Because they're dumb and have no sense of, well, I'm wet and it's cold and this is ice. This is fine. It's not fine. But like on the nice days, like I'll go out like midday. I'll let Kaz out, Kaz Borker, who's our dog, who's a big, sweet,
So
goofy
good.
boy. He looks like a Muppet. He's adorable. I let him out. He's very sweet. He'll like gently walk past the chickens and then start running in the backyard, and the chickens will chase him a little bit and play with him. It's very sweet. And I'll feed the chickens and feed the peacock, and Jean Ralphio, our peacock, will scream because that's what they do, is they scream. And like just enjoy some time fucking outside in the sun for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's a lunch break. And then I go back to doing what I have to do in order to be able to pay for this shit.
Feed the chickens.
But yeah, so our first flock of chickens and stuff, we started naming after characters from Parks and Recreation. So our peacock is Jean Ralphio Saperstein.
Money, please.
Money, please.
Actually, one of the guinea hens who did not make it, we had a fox attack very early on, so we did lose a guinea hen, was Mona Lisa. So Mona Lisa, rip.
No.
We have another guinea hen named Greg Pakitis. We have 3 different Tammys. Tammy 1, Tammy 2. We have Brandy Max. We have Shauna Mulway Tweep out there. Yeah. I don't know what we're going to do for the next round. Normally, actually, one of the Patreon levels is when we get chickens, we'll come up with a theme, and people on the Patreon can pick their names.
Why did you
hear that
scream
for you
that
all in the back?
making direct eye contact with me?
Just lean
understand.
deeply into the microphone.
Deeply,
Straight up eye
lovingly,
contact. I knew that attack was to me.
into the mic. All
Move away
right.
from the mic to breathe. Oh, that's an internet deep cut. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all of you who have no fucking idea what I'm talking about.
Why
There's
did my
something
back
there.
all of a sudden just start hurting? Like my back and my hips and my knees. I just felt like my age just
Alex.
went,
Okay, real quick, Alex. I stretched the wrong way for the first time and I had a back spasm.
No.
It's been only how many days since?
I told you.
Like 13 days.
The next day after I turned 30.
13 days since my 30th birthday.
Absolutely
And just
not.
immediately.
No.
Okay, sorry. I just remembered that. I had to tell Alex.
The next day.
It's I'm like, Alex was right, and I was like in pain, just like in a chair.
After I turned 30, I had the like delayed onset like workout muscle thing, right? So like I used to, before I was 30, I would get sore the next day. Makes sense. Absolutely. You work out and then you wake up and your body hurts. Cool. Now I work out. It's not that first day, although I'm a little sore. It's the next day that I'm like, what the fuck happened? So before I knew what the fuck was going on, I would like work out and then I was like, okay, cool. The next day I feel great. And then I would work out again. So then like, it was just,
No.
yeah, it was awful. Don't turn 30. Listen, I don't. I don't know how you get around it, but stop.
Just stop celebrating your birthday and you'll be fine, okay? Just don't don't tell the government.
Become ungovernable. Disobey time.
That's how we get around capitalism.
We have to eventually.
They can't capitalize us all. I think they are.
I think they're doing that right now.
Check my notes here.
Just
They
covering the
definitely are.
camera. Just shh, big brother, don't look at me.
Don't
All
notice
right,
me.
we've Ren, I could have you on for another hour, but we must come to an end for editing Adrian's sake. Where can they find you?
So they can find me on Threads and Instagram under Renowned. I'm Renowned Gaming on Start Playing and Twitter for some fucking reason. It's because all the TTRPG people are there still. You can find me doing a Dinner and a Game. That's dinner_game on X, or the Dinner and a Game, all one word, on Twitch. I'm also Renowned on TikTok. Forgot about that. But doing live streams with that crew. If you like live plays, please go check them out. They have a lot of amazing cast of folks. They're playing all sorts of fucking games, and they're all really fucking cool. But that's where you can find me. And if I can leave you all, both here and at home, with one thing, that's just find shit that you really enjoy and do that thing. Like, if you like running games, do that. If you like playing games, do that thing. Be passionate about the things you like. Be deeply cringe about the things you are passionate about. Get that Gomez Adams level of passion about the shit that you love, because that shit is infectious. And it has not steered me wrong yet. So I hope it works the best for you. And make sure you're taking care of yourselves. Drink water. Hydrate.
Hydrate, don't dehydrate. I feel like there is some hope in this hellscape, and this is probably the first time in a while that I have felt some hope. So thank you, Wren. Thank you, dear listener, for joining us on another episode of Dungeons and Degrees. You can find us on all social medias at Dungeons with an S and the letter N and Degree. No, Dungeon with no S, just one dungeon, the letter N, and then Degrees, as if we had multiple degrees, as if somebody allowed us to continue. You can also find us where all pods are cast, so tell your friends, your family, and your enemies. Rate us only 5 stars, because if you rate us any less, like, what the fuck is the point? You let Amazon win. Every time you rate less than 5 stars to a small podcast, small business, small anything, somebody's going to follow you home and spit in your mac and cheese if you rate us less than 5 stars. You can also find us on Patreon, and you can help support us there. And I think that is it. Adrian?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Wren. And thank you, listener, for listening. My name's Adrian.
And I'm Alex.
Oh, I forgot to tell Wren to say I'm Wren.
And I'm Wren!
Go have some fun.